So today I wanted to talk a little bit about surrender. I'm not going to make it a long video, but I just wanted to share a little bit about surrender and the art of surrendering, because I feel like maybe for those of us who are a little bit more on the controlling side, or a little bit more on the type A personality, like doing things and always feeling like you need to do things, and people that have that to-do list, people that struggle with resting, relaxing, receiving, tend to kind of chase what they want or chase what they want without knowing how to kind of stop chasing, or when to stop chasing, or when to slow down or quit, or just allow space or wait even to receive. So in terms of a spiritual point of view, there's a lot of talk about surrender, and in the spiritual community I noticed that a lot, especially from this one book that I read called The Surrender Experiment by Michael A. Singer, I think it's called. And it really was amazing, because he basically dedicated his whole life to surrendering to what life gave him. And it's such a journey. Like, he takes you on this whole life journey, and it's like better than any book you could read, or better than any storyline you could see in a movie. Like, it was really amazing to see what surrendering really did for him. And for him, surrendering was more like going against what the voice in the head says. So he talks a lot about the voice in the head, which we would call the ego. The voice that tells us what to think, what to say, how to feel about things, what people mean, or what they're saying, or what you think they mean, or whatever. That voice in the head that dictates so much of what you believe, and how you see the world around you, and how you interpret what you're receiving from the world, from your life. He talks a lot about actually just doing the opposite of what that voice says, or completely disregarding that voice altogether, and seeing what happens, and not following it, instead following a different path, or the path that's chosen. The path that's given, like when there's clear step forward from the universe, or from life, or whatever. So, going back to surrender, I feel like this is a tricky one, because for me personally, I would consider myself one of those type A personalities where I find myself to be always busy and always wanting to have something to do, and needing that purpose feeling. And my life this last year has been a massive journey. From this, or even before, it's been an ongoing thing actually, since my whole spiritual journey, when I had my first spiritual awakening. But mainly it started in 2023, when I found out that I had to move out of my house, and I had 2 weeks to move out. It was a bit of a shock to me, and I ended up moving in with my brother a week early. And then after I moved, I only had 3 months to stay there with him, so then I had to find somewhere else to live, and I ended up moving house. In 2023, I moved different houses about 4 times. I think I moved house 4 times. So I lived in 5 different homes in 2023, and that was really stressful for me. It was the first year of me living fully, properly on my own, I guess, not having my brother there as emotional stability, not having that familiar sense of family. I was kind of just on my own, and it was really scary, and I felt like I was going with it, but I was also very much still in the mindset of control. I was trying to work out all the little details, and I was really worried about money, and I didn't have a car, and all of this stuff was happening, and I was I need a car, I need this. I was focusing on everything that I needed to get, and needed to do, and needed to have, and I was doing everything in my power to make that happen. And I was so focused on all of these tiny details, I didn't know how to surrender at that point. I was I didn't have any trust in the universe. I didn't have any trust that things were going to work out, because I just had this, I didn't address it at the time, but I was dealing with this lack mentality, of belief that I didn't deserve to have things go well for me. And so I was just stressed all the time, and busy all the time, and my to-do lists were always long. There was always more things I needed to pay for, so there was always more need to get more work. And I was doing FIFO, fly in, fly out at the time. So I was working like 2-3 weeks on at a time, taking like a week off and then going back to work. So I was making like bulk money, but I was exhausted and I was doing a job that I hated, that was really not in alignment with who I was. I was getting sick. I was basically just not living in alignment with who I was, and I wasn't really giving any room or any space to surrender. And I was eating a lot as well, and putting on weight because of stress, and also because I wasn't following my intuition. I was completely turning my back on the surrendering aspect of everything. Like when life gives you something really difficult to deal with, like moving house, for example, that's like a big challenge for some of us. Like some of us can get really triggered by change. I think we all do. And when life gives you big changes like this, it's so helpful to know how to surrender, or it's so helpful to have that voice in your head that can remind you, or the wisdom of the past that can remind you, I just need to surrender right now. I don't need to do anything. I don't need to fix this right now. But then, there are people like us who have this personality of wanting to fix the problems, seeing a problem, feeling anxious about it, so wanting to fix it. And that's understandable. That's completely okay. I don't judge these people because I'm this person and I'm really learning to accept that in myself. But in saying that, accepting that and still surrendering is such a powerful thing. And so I want to talk a little bit more about what surrendering actually looks and feels like. So for me, I feel like surrendering looks like being okay, giving up the reins to the divine. Mentally, it's more of a mental thing of being okay, I'm surrendering, what does that mean? What does that look like? That looks like me not trying to solve all the little problems, me not focusing on what needs to be fixed, rather focusing on how everything's going to actually work out. What would you do if everything was going to work out and you didn't have to do it was not in your hands at all? Imagine if you had that mentality, if you just knew, if you could look into the future and then, or be your future self and tell your past self, it's going to be fine, everything's going to work out, you don't need to look for a job, you don't need to make this money, you don't need to do this, you don't need to do that, just let it be and everything will fall into place, everything will come to you. You don't need to chase or fix anything. What would you do with your free time? For me, that looks like completely letting go of responsibility for my life and the outcomes in my life. And that is a big thing for me, because I always take responsibility for everything that happens in my life, and that's what we're told to do. And even in the spiritual community, that's what we're told to do. But I'm saying that maybe the most radical thing we could do right now, the best way to surrender, is actually to give our responsibility back to God, or back to source, or back to the higher, the divine, whoever's weaving our lives, whoever's in control truly of our lives, giving it back to them, so that we can relieve ourselves of this belief that we are controlling our lives. Because essentially we're not. We can do everything we can to change the outcomes of our lives, and we may get it, we may not, but the truth is that we're not really in control. Our human self, our ego, our little human self is not in control. So surrender can look like believing that the outcome is going to be what it is, no matter what we do in the meantime. So we may as well enjoy ourselves. We may as well get creative. For me, that looks like getting creative. That means learning a new instrument. That for me looks like embracing my singing and embracing making videos and sharing what I want to share with the world. Imagine if you had everything taken care of and everything provided for. What would you be doing with yourself? If you could do anything, you're literally free to do whatever you want. Now you don't have to be in control of what's happening. You don't need to be thinking, oh, I need to fix this problem, I need to focus on this issue. Because whatever your life situation is, if you're moving house, if everything's changing around you, know that you're not alone, and so many other people are going through these changes. But one thing that you can have in your back pocket as a tool is like a mindset of surrender, a mindset of receiving. Like surrender is receiving, and if you have this mindset, you're like, I'm going to receive these outcomes. I'm going to receive these outcomes of my life, and the things that I need are going to be given to me. They're going to be received by me, so long as I just stay right here or do whatever I want to do in the meantime. As if it's already working out for me, as if everything's working out for me and that I don't have to lift a finger. All I need to do is do whatever I would do if I knew that everything was being taken care of for me. So the art of surrender, there's two main energies that I'm thinking of right now. We've got like the action and then the surrender. So that's like the action I see is like the masculine energy, getting things done, doing and like being or doing. And then we've got the surrender, which is like the being, or the feminine energy, which is the surrender, the being, the magnetizing, and the attracting, and the receiving. So it's like there are different people that need different things in different times of their life, obviously. So we have, the masculine and the feminine. And the feminine is, if you're attracted to this video, and if you're attracted to the idea, and if it gives you peace and calm within you, knowing, like, when you hear the words, like, when you hear this message that, it's time for you now to surrender, it's time for you now to let go of the control, to let go of the reins of your life, to let go of the steering wheel, and let life do what it wants to do for you. Let life deliver to you what it wants to deliver, and let you receive those blessings. It's all about receiving and magnetizing and attracting. By you just being you being in your beingness, not doing, but being, and being in your highest expression, whatever that looks like, your best expression, your best self, whatever that looks like. Especially, I think that the best version of you would be the least stressed version of you, and the least stressed version of you would be coming from this mentality of, I'm surrendered, I'm not in control of what happens, I'm completely just going with the flow, I am letting life take the lead, I am just chilling, I am just doing my own thing, I'm just writing, or I'm just drawing, or I'm doing art, I'm learning a new language, I'm learning lessons, I'm traveling, whatever it is. What would you do if you knew everything was going to work out for you and that you didn't have to do anything about it? That is, I guess, the main message of surrender that I'm trying to understand now for myself. I make these videos because when I talk about whatever I'm talking about in my videos, it's always something that I'm moving through at the time. And for me right now, the universe keeps telling me, trust the timing. And my guides, they are telling me gently to just let go, loosen the reins a little bit, like just chill a little bit more, and give yourself that freedom and that grace to explore your creativity, explore what wants to come out of you at this time, because you don't have to just sit in fear and waiting for the next thing to happen, because in the meantime you can just live your life. Between big life events and big life changes, it can feel like you're in limbo. It can feel like you're just hanging in the air and not knowing what to do, and that's an okay feeling. But I'm saying to you is that you don't have to wait for the next thing to come. You can actually just enjoy your time that you have, because this time has been given to you and it's free for you to do whatever you want. Like, you are free to use your time however you please, because now you're not thinking, I need to do this, or I need to pack this, or I need to find a new place to live. Like, no, we don't need to do that. That's the old paradigm. That's the 3D world that 3D people live in. And if you're spiritual, you have the gift of being able to have higher awareness and access to videos like this and concepts like this, which say it's okay. Like, you can actually surrender, and it's okay to surrender. That's my cat, by the way. He's a black cat. It's not a ghost. He's in there. Where is he? There. That's that's Sammy. He's a cat. He's a black cat, so don't think that it's a ghost. I looked at that and I was like, in the reflection, I was like, what the fuck is that? Well, this is my cat. But yeah, spiritual people, we have the blessing, the gift of having intuition that guides us to messages like this, and guides us to these these higher truths and awarenesses, and surrender is one of the highest truths. And surrender is such a I love surrendering because I love the idea of it, and embodying it is harder than it is to talk about and listen to. But this message is a divine message because it's teaching us that we don't need to go through fear and control and struggle to like get to the highest timeline or get to the best results or the best outcome for us. So, and they're saying as well, the guys are saying, because you wouldn't have to step out of alignment to get to your alignment. Does that make sense? So, for example, if it's a house, if you're about to move house and you don't know where you're going to move to, and you've received news you have to move or whatever, this is just an example, or you're going to travel or something, and you don't know where you're going to end up, you don't know where you're going to go, right? They're saying that if you were to pick, hang on. Okay, so your highest destination for your next step on your highest timeline right now, the best possible outcome that you could end up in, like the best house or the best environment that you could possibly end up in, is waiting for you, right? Like, it's gonna happen. It's just it happens a bit slowly because we're in the 3D and things need to work out and things need to line up and stuff before you arrive. But they're saying that if that's your highest, like your best outcome, would it make sense that you would have to struggle to get there? That you would have to go into your fear frequency of controlling, struggling, working things out, hustling to get there? Like, do you really, like, they're saying it doesn't make sense that you would have to go into that fear frequency, into that lower frequency of struggle and suffering and selling your soul or working really hard when you don't need to, selling yourself out just to get to that place. They're saying that it doesn't make sense. So I'm hoping that that makes sense to you. It makes sense to me because now I've just received that. But it's basically just like, the truth is, like, you would, if it's meant for you, why would you have to sell yourself out? Why would you have to fall into your old patterns in order to get there? Like, it's not a requirement, if that makes sense. It's not a requirement for you to get to the highest, best outcome that you can in the changes that you're going through right now. It's not a requirement for you to have to control your way into that, or struggle your way into it, or work your way through it, into it. Does that make sense? You don't have to do anything. You just let it happen. Let it come to you. Focus on what makes you happy. Focus on spending your time doing things that you love. If you have a job, continue with that. Or if you don't want to work, if you've been fired, or like if you've lost your job for whatever reason, you are more than welcome to look at different avenues. Whatever makes you feel more joyful, spend your time doing that. If you do work and you want to keep your job, find time in your life outside of that to do creative stuff that you feel good doing, like whatever that might look like, whatever avenues of joy that you feel are most available to you right now. For me, that's like roller skating and singing and music writing and poems and learning guitar and doing painting and art and stuff like that. Like, that for me is what makes me feel joy and happy. And dancing, there are so many different things that you can do. Whatever makes you feel most joy, that is what the universe is saying. Just focus on what brings you joy, focus on what makes you happy. Don't seclude yourself and just don't isolate yourself because you're stressed. Like, go out and live your life as if everything's being taken care of, and everything will be taken care of regardless. Even if it's just a compulsive thing that you just like always try and control things, but when you catch, it's okay, because when you catch yourself doing it, all you need to do is just remember, you just realize, I'm doing it again. Like, I'm trying to control the outcome again. And then you remind yourself, no, it's okay, it's gonna work out. And then you continue on doing whatever brings you joy, whatever makes you happy. spending time with your family, spending time with your friends, going to events, going to parties, whatever makes you feel full inside of you, whatever makes you feel whole and fulfilled and good. So yeah, that's my message, and yeah, it was exactly 20 minutes, so I'm really happy about that. Thank you for listening, and wishing you well, and wishing you good vibes in your surrender experiment. And yeah, I hope that some of this landed with people the way that it's landed with me as I'm talking about it. But yeah, thank you and good luck. And whatever you're worried about right now, whatever you're stressed about, just know the universe has it under control. You're in good hands, and love will never let you down. Love has never let you down, and the universe is based and built on love. So you will never be let down, but your life is going to look so different a year from now and 2 years from now, and you're going to be so happy about it. And just trust that. Just trust that. Trust the process. Trust the timing. It's going to be okay.